Sometimes I do ask myself, is it worth fighting for Kenyans? Is it really worth fighting for Kenyans? Kenyans normally do forget things very easily. Let's have a look at some remarks made by Rigathi Gachagua earlier today, remarks that are going to inform the basis of our analysis right now. There is a plan to remove Chief Justice Koome, disband Supreme Court, Gachagua claims. The story continues. Former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua now claims there is a plot by the state through unnamed proxies to remove Chief Justice Martha Koome from office and disband the Supreme Court before 2027 elections. We have seen a scheme to remove Chief Justice Martha Koome from office. The ex-DP told congregants at Meru PCEA Church on Sunday. He alluded to the recent withdrawal of Koome's security, terming it as one of the state's strategy to scare the Chief Justice and push her into resignation. I want to ask my sister, Lady Justice Martha Koome, don't be intimidated. Stay put. You are doing a good job. Continue making sure this is a country of rule of law and constitutionalism, said Gachagua. In the tell-all address to the church attendees, Gachagua also revealed that President William Ruto's government intends to disband the Supreme Court. There is even a bigger scheme to dismantle the Supreme Court ahead of 2027 elections. A budget has been set aside through the National Intelligence Service, NIS, and all those petitions you are seeing against Martha Koome and judges of the Supreme Court is the machinations of the state, Gachagua stated. The former deputy president argued that the end goal is to set up a bench that will act in favor of the executive. They would like to put a Supreme Court bench that is amiable to what those in power want. We cannot accept. We want to ask the international community to keep an eye on Kenya. That's Rigathi Gachagua for you. So, Rigathi is now claiming that there is a plot to send the Supreme Court judges home. And is now telling Martha Koome to continue what she has been doing because she has been doing a good job. And that brings us to the big question. Do you think the Supreme Court has lived up to the expectations of Kenyans? Has it been doing a good job? Why is Rigathi Gachagua defending Martha Koome and the Supreme Court? It's interesting, ladies and gentlemen. I want us to dig deep into this for Kenyans to understand what's happening here. If you're watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Let's proceed. Why is Rigathi defending Martha Koome? And why is he against the Supreme Court bench being dissolved? Rigathi is defending Martha Koome because Koome comes from the mountain. To Rigathi Gachagua, he believes that everything starts and ends on the mountain. That's why I strongly believe that should Kenyans make a mistake of voting in Rigathi Gachagua and his team, Kenyans will regret. They will gnash their teeth. And it's important, as we do our political analysis, we must call out some things that are clearly going wrong. Rigathi is not fit holding a public office. Any person associating with Rigathi Gachagua is also not fit holding any public office. So Kenyans should reject Rigathi Gachagua and his team. Rigathi is one of the worst ethnic chauvinists we have around in Kenya. So he's defending Martha Koome because Koome comes from the mountain. He's also defending Martha Koome because Koome has been doing his bidding in the government. Martha Koome is a Rigathi Gachagua's ally. And this is something I've always discussed in this forum severally. Looking at the body language of Martha Koome, Lenaola, these are clearly Rigathi Gachagua's allies. And if you look at the 7 Supreme Court justices, most of them are aligning themselves to Rigathi Gachagua and his team. So Rigathi is against that bench being disbanded because most of those judges are Rigathi Gachagua's allies. And also, if you look at the Supreme Court bench, not once, not twice, but severally again, for those who have been following us here, I've always maintained that the Supreme Court judges are the weakest link in our judiciary. They are easily being manipulated. And in the first 2 years of William Ruto's administration, when Rigathi Gachagua still had power, that Supreme Court was leaning towards the government and they were not apologetic for it. After Rigathi Gachagua had been impeached, or when his impeachment had been initiated, we started seeing the Supreme Court now tilting away from the government. A confirmation that in the first 2 years, the court was leaning towards the government because it was sympathetic to Rigathi Gachagua and his team. And that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court has done a very bad job, a shoddy job, starting on how they ruled on the presidential petition of 2022, a petition that was challenging the declaration of Ruto as the president-elect. In spite of the fact that a majority of IBC commissioners had issues with the results, in spite of the fact that the turnout of that election of 2022 kept on changing, with all those irregularities, the court declared the petition challenging Ruto's election null and void, hot air. And I've always maintained that it was a compromised judgment. So the court got it wrong in 2022 presidential petition, and the court continued getting it wrong. So the court has not been serving the interest of Kenyans. And even right now, Kenyans have been complaining against that court. You are now seeing Rigathi Gachagua defending the court. Kenyans should understand this. There is no neutrality in Kenya. The church is not neutral. If you see the church giving its own position, then it gives that position based on which side of the political divide it supports. The church is not neutral. These government officers, these judges, they are also not neutral. They normally give their judgment based on which side they support. As currently constituted, the Supreme Court is leaning towards Rigathi Gachagua and his team. And the only way Kenyans can have an independent Supreme Court is for the current Supreme Court to be disbanded. If it's not disbanded, come 2027, it might actually overturn the will of Kenyans the way it did in 2022. So if at all William Ruto has got an intention of disbanding the Supreme Court, Kenyans should support that move. That court is the weakest link in our Kenya's judiciary. It's composed of men and women who are easy to bribe and easy to compromise. So Rigathi is just trying to play his usual ethnic politics. Rigathi is just looking at his own personal and political interests. I'm seeing a Rigathi Gachagua who is also sensing defeat come 2027. So he thinks that the Supreme Court might save him come 2027. The truth is, and I repeat, if Kenyans go the Rigathi Kalonzo's way, William Ruto will beat them very early in the morning. If Kenyans don't wake up, if Kenyans go the Rigathi Kalonzo way, William Ruto will win. The only way, in my honest opinion, of beating Ruto is for Kenyans to go the tribeless way, the Gen Z way, not this Rigathi and Kalonzo's way. They will lose. Let me stop it there. If you are watching us but you have not yet subscribed, subscribe, give the video a like. Any person who may want to support our forum, that's my number. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.